Namaste and a very good evening to all the distinguished speakers who have assembled to pay humble tributes to His Holiness Pope Francis. I remember vividly when His Holiness passed away, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, had described him as a beacon of compassion, humility, and spiritual courage. In a world fraught with conflicts, violence, and despair, his passing has left a profound void that is difficult to fill, marking the end of an era defined by unwavering dedication to unity and hope. Despite being the supreme leader of the Catholic Church, he transcended regional, religious, and cultural divides to become a voice of the voiceless, a true statesman and spiritual guide who exemplified the teachings of Jesus Christ. He is the first Latin American and Jesuit Pope. He infused the papacy with a sense of purpose, emerging as a transformative leader in the Catholic Church. And he led by example, embodying the principles he championed throughout his papacy. On April 17, 2025, barely few days before he left for his heavenly abode, he continued his cherished Holy Thursday tradition. He visited the Rome's Regina Coeli prison. And in that final outing, despite his frail health, he spent time with the inmates, offering prayers. He gifted each inmate rosaries and copies of the Gospels, reaffirming his commitment to uplifting those on society's margin. I'm mentioning all this to look at the wide canvas on which he worked. Just hours before his death, he met with the American Vice President J.D. Vance and delivered an Easter message focused on a theme central to his mission, a heartfelt appeal for the better treatment of migrants and other vulnerable, marginalized communities. His papacy was distinguished by a resolute commitment to fostering interfaith understanding and addressing pressing global challenges such as climate change. And we all remember the last big event involving India, with which he had a very special relationship, when Cardinal George Jacob Couard, he was the first Indian Catholic priest to be directly elevated to receive the Red Biretta. And with his ever-smiling demeanor, Pope Francis not only graciously hosted the Indian delegation, and he handed a rosary to our minister, Mr. George Kurian, who is the Minister for Minority Affairs, and gave him a rosary and said that this is for the people of India. And he told the Prime Minister once, Mr. Modi, that India is the greatest gift you have given me. This is one that people in India will remember for a long time. He always interacted with different religious communities, particularly in India too, whether it is from Hinduism, Islam, and Buddhism. And he emphasized the importance of dialogue and understanding among faiths. And these interactions underscored his belief in the power of unity in diversity. And he encouraged Indians to celebrate their pluralistic heritage. And that is something that is admirable, given the fact that in India, we have one of the oldest churches in the world. Saint Thomas himself laid the foundations of the Indian church, being one of the apostles of Jesus Christ. And he established the first Indian church in my own state of Kerala. And since then, the church has grown. But of course, if you look at India's population, then the vibrant Christian community amount to less than 2%. Though it's a very vibrant community and it has contributed immensely, particularly in the education and healthcare sectors. Almost 30% of the schools and hospitals in the private sector in India are taken care of by the Christian community. And that is the reach. Of course, this is not to deny that there have not been conflicts. There have been. And they have been due to certain historic reasons, including the unfortunate inquisitions carried out by the Portuguese in Goa. There were some incidents related to colonialism also. The baggage certainly was there. And of course, the dynamic changes in Indian politics have also witnessed, I would say, lack of understanding. Because I think that I am a student of communication. I often say that people often confuse between mainstream media and social media. And the result is that the mainstream media gets a bad name for all the mistakes of the social media. So similarly, in India also, some of the activities of the, what should I call, the new church movements which are intended at conversions and are certainly creating an image about the entire Christian and Catholic communities. Because some of those new churches coming from the US and Europe have very little to do with the Catholic Church. And they are, in a way, substantiating the charges of proselytization, which is an accusation being held against church organizations by different organizations in India. These have led to, certain avoidable, unwarranted, undesirable, and unfortunate acts. But overall, I still believe that these are aberrations. The Christian community continues to be held in high respect, high esteem by the majority of the Indian society. And they share a very beautiful relationship. Since I come from the state of Kerala, in the southernmost part of India, we share common festivals. In fact, many, the Church of South India and that CSI and the Syrio-Malabar Church, the Syrian Christians have adopted so many Hindu practices as part of their tradition. Whether it is initiating the child for the first time into writing, of course, the symbols have changed. The ingredients of those events are different, but the traditions, remain the same. They have preserved the culture. In fact, in Kerala, it is very common to see a lot many Christians having their first name a Hindu name, and only the second name as their Christian name. This is the epitome of the strong bonds between the majority community and the minority community. And this is what essentially Pope Francis emphasized, this plurality, strengthening this plurality, strengthening this unity in diversity. And of course, he did express his concerns also, which also came under criticism, But a majority of the Indians accepted that and continue to accept being peace-loving people. They continue to accept that we are a secular country. We are a country where diversity is the norm. We are different ethnic groups. We are different linguistic groups. We are different religious groups. Yet at the core of it, we are all Indians. We have common ancestry. We all are from the same DNA stock. In fact, I see my Indonesian distinguished speaker from Indonesia also here. And when the Indonesian president recently visited India as the Republic Day chief guest, he mentioned at the banquet thrown by the president that, in fact, he traced his ancestry and he found that he has an Indian DNA. So the unity of mankind, has been re-emphasized by all leaders. Taking forward what, the Holy Father had to say, I think that he appointed Indian cardinals and bishops, recognizing the growing influence of the Catholic Church in India and reinforcing its role in tackling social challenges. And I would also like to mention here a few things before I conclude, because the time limit given to me is 15 minutes. And let me try to conclude it within that time limit itself, because we have many other distinguished speakers to listen to. But I wish to highlight a few points which I had noted down. I wanted to say that, the Pope Francis' approach to interfaith dialogue was rooted in a deep respect for the dignity of every human being, regardless of their religious affiliation. He believed that dialogue is not merely a strategic tool, but a moral imperative. That's important. For him, it was not a public relation exercise as a cover-up, but he meant it from the core of his heart. He felt that it is the moral duty of the church to do that. Of course, he faced criticism even from his own church. There were some critics who were not so much in favor of the interfaith dialogue that he advocated. But nevertheless, he never stopped, because he had said that interreligious dialogue is a necessary condition for peace in the world. And so it is the duty of Christians as well as other religious communities. There are few things which he believed in, and which I would say were the foundations of his deep faith in interreligious dialogue. He emphasized on the importance of listening to others and understanding their perspective and learning from their traditions. This was something which differentiated him from many religious leaders. This humility was the cornerstone of his dialogue efforts, wherein he said that you need to be active listeners. You have to listen to the other point of view. That is important. Second, he felt that while there could be many reasons for us to cite to prove our differences, he said that let us try to find common values and shared concerns, such as peace, which I'm sure that every society loves, justice, and care for the environment. He felt that these are common concerns and common values which can serve as the foundation for cooperation. Third, he also believed in action-oriented dialogue. The dialogues were not meant to be superficial exercises. He felt that beyond the mere conversations, he advocated joint action by different communities. He felt that by working together on common projects like humanitarian aid or environmental protection, it can build trust and mutual respect. This was what he believed in. Because so actionable, the dialogue that he was not mere conversation, but actionable dialogue.
Dr. Suresh?
Well, I'll just conclude in 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. Thank
you. Well, I have so many points I wanted to raise, but I'm sure they will come up. But yes, whether it is Shintoism or Buddhism, when he went to Japan, or he even participated in interfaith prayer meetings, he supported local initiatives. I'm just rushing through the points that, that I wanted to say. He always promoted peace in regions plagued with religious conflict, whether it be Myanmar or Philippines. He inspired many local initiatives, and of course, he had a global influence. And I would say that yes, as I said, that he faced internal resistance within the Catholic Church also, because there were some who viewed with skepticism that it might dilute doctrinal purity, but he navigated all these internal dynamics very carefully. Yes, there were criticism from other faiths also, who looked back at the historical role of colonialism, proselytism. But despite these challenges, he remained steadfast in his commitment to dialogue, often addressing these issues head-on in his speeches and writings. I would just conclude by saying that his legacy of interfaith dialogue in Asia is a testament to the power of humility, listening, and shared action in bridging divides. His efforts have not only strengthened relations between the Catholic Church and other faiths in Asia, but have also set a global examples of how religious leaders can work together for peace and understanding. And as we look to the future, the work of interfaith dialogue in Asia remains as crucial as ever. Religious leaders must continue to engage in meaningful conversations and joint actions to address the challenges of our time. In a world often divided by differences, the legacy of Pope Francis reminds that dialogue is not just possible, it is essential. That would be the most humble and fitting tribute to His Holiness Pope Francis. Thank you so much. God bless.